I think the remaining barriers to more widespread ESG integration are still around a perception by many across the investment chain as ESG being something separate from the investment process.
Is the absence of definition of what ESG means. Each asset manager, each asset owner have their own definition. This inconsistency is something that needs to be worked on.
There are some implicit suspicion or half-belief whether to implement ESG will really enhance the corporate value or not.
Despite the high level of conversation, globally there's still a kind of persistent misinterpretation of what this is about.
What does ESG mean? I've had investment managers give me presentations where I haven't recognised the E or the S or the G.
In order to achieve this objective, dual objective of superior social return and investment return, we all should strive to apply the most effective integration approach going forward, which can only be identified by further research on ESG.
A long-term horizon for many of the actors are 3 to 5 years, whereas a lot of the ESG risks and opportunities are going to play out over a much longer period than that time frame.
The ESG factors tend to be quite long-term issues, and it's difficult for that signal to break through a lot of the market noise. But over time, it will.
Both management of corporate and investors should open their eyes to the true aim that investment and business should contribute to the long-term return.
One of the perceptions around performance is still out there, and it's still probably one of the biggest obstacles in terms of the performance question.
And even though there's been a lot of academic work and much more empirical work, as we know as an industry, based on the fact that this is not now true, that bias actually still exists with investors.
The investment industry need to stop thinking of environmental, social, and governance issues as mere externalities and non-financial factors. These are financial matters.
The debate of the fiduciary duty against ESG integration is still remains in some markets. I expect that, in Japan and also in some countries, particularly in Asia, where they have a different legal system, this debate will come back to the discussion when we get into the more micro-level discussions and investment opportunities.
We are certain that ESG integration is in line with our fiduciary role, and indeed it is in line also for the investment performance we want to deliver.
So as we build a more robust series of studies, I think we'll convince even the pure alpha seekers that ESG integration is just good investing.
The solution to overcome the barrier is networking, I believe. By having dialogue, we can learn and consider the exact way which can be applied to our own issues.
I think over the next decade, some of the important ESG issues at the micro level will be breaking it down into environmental is likely to be climate related.
The most important ESG issues are likely to be on the E side of the equation, that is the environment.
But perhaps kind of more specifically, things to do with population growth and kind of greater scarcity of water resources and food.
It's time for PRI to step up on the plate about the E factor.
Under the S for social, I think these are likely to do with issues of growing inequality.
One thing I'm quite interested in seeing is that with respect to the human rights and the social security.
Under the G for governance, there's a hard G, which is the increasing role that regulation will have to play. And there's a soft G, which is the creation of new benchmarks and investable indices.
But I think there will be some new and novel issues for us to tackle. The first area I think is robotics and the increasing automation
We think that the acceleration in artificial intelligence, for example, will certainly append society's way of organizing and valuing human capital.
And also cyber risk of the Internet of Things, which could see put at risk, for example, pacemakers and many other devices in our homes and lives.
And then finally, I think there's fragility in our institutions. I think that the increasing flow and speed with which information spreads means that legitimacy might be questioned and they might be more easily toppled.
I believe PRI should focus making sure that the signatories adopt a behavior which is in line with the PRI, and this is for the asset owners and the asset managers. At the same time, making sure that those signatories that do not adopt the correct behavior should not remain as signatories.
Whichever route, I think there is a role for PRI to make signatories more accountable.
PRI is an amazingly important organization, and there are a number of key roles I think it can play. I think it needs to continue on its educational role.
Bridging the gap between the world of ESG analysis and research and financial analysis. This will provide a greater transition to the systematic integration of environmental, social, and governance issues into our practice.
But there are other market players as well. For example, all the beneficiaries of the asset owners. I see in the next decade those individuals playing more and more of a role in terms of shaping what responsible investment means for their pension dollars.
It is important for asset owners, such as pension funds, to be committed to responsible investment even more.
I think one of the key things that the PRI can do going forward is to be a bigger voice and a more unified voice for the global investment community when it comes to policymaking.
And to be a voice for the future, not just in developed markets, but also developing, on how ESG integration is an important part of the investment process.
I think over the next decade, PRI probably needs to focus on translating that into action and impact, and particularly in relation to how the finance sector can get movement towards the Sustainable Development Goals.
I think that PRI should really encourage people to share both their successes and failures.
Many of the challenges in the field of ESG are collective action challenges.
If we collaborate together and improve our investment process towards greater ESG integration, all of us have a potential to become leaders in a space.
We're really grateful for what PRI has done for our sector, and we are committed to supporting you and our peers, our fellow signatories, in driving ESG forward.
I'm confident PRI will make sure responsible investment is more than just a trend, but will become even a must going forward.
Congratulations on 10th anniversary, and I hope PRI will last forever.
Happy 10 years.